Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today I was supposed to be filming my BookTubeAthon wrap-up, but seeing as I didn't really read much of anything during the BookTubeAthon, I didn't think there would be any point in doing a kind of I failed style wrap-up, so instead we're going to be doing kind of a casual reading check-in video, and we're just going to talk about what I'm currently reading. Before we get into the books though, I do want to mention that yes, I'm aware that the lighting is kind of awful and that there's a weird tinge that's kind of orangey. Hopefully I can fix that when I edit, but right now in Southern California we're having massive wildfires, and there's one couple hours inland from me, and it's just making the sky gray and orangey, and it's kind of awful, and it kind of feels like we're, you know, in a horror movie, but that's basically what I'm dealing with today. Anyways, the BookTubeAthon was last week, and if you saw my TBR video, you know that I was super pumped for the readathon. It's one of my favorite readathons that happens all year long, and I was genuinely really excited about every single book on my TBR. Unfortunately, life got in the way and work was incredibly busy. I was working full days and then coming home, eating, and then working for a couple extra hours in the evenings, and basically by the time I got to just kind of sit down and theoretically had time to read, my brain was just fried, and reading wasn't really what I wanted to do. The one book I did make some progress on during the week was my audiobook choice for the BookTubeAthon, and that was The World as It Is Inside the Obama White House by Ben Rhodes. Now, I have about 4.5, 5 hours left in the book, and I believe it's a 36-hour long audiobook, so I did make some good progress there, but if I'm honest, I probably could have finished it over the weekend if I had at all felt inclined to. I want to start off by saying that this is not a bad book at all. I just think I had really high expectations going into it, and I'm really sad to report that it is just not living up to them. Again, it's not a bad book. It's actually very well written, and I think Ben Rhodes gives a really interesting behind-the-scenes look, a really interesting portrait of himself as kind of transitioning from a young kind of idealist campaign staffer to a more tired, slightly jaded White House staffer. However, it's just kind of missing that little extra oomph, that little extra wonderfulness that I have discovered that I can find in political memoirs. You know, I've read a lot of political memoirs this year, and a lot of them have just, you know, had something that's made me really addicted to them, really want to keep reading and really engaged, and I'm just not finding that in The World as It Is. I will, of course, finish it, and don't worry, I will do an actual wrap-up review thing with more complete thoughts, but that was kind of my primary readathon read, and unfortunately wasn't one I was thoroughly enjoying. Over the weekend I did manage to carve out a few hours to read an actual physical book, so I decided to pick up Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Now this was my my coin toss book. This was the book I was supposed to start off the readathon with, and unfortunately I'm not really enjoying this one either. I'm currently about there, which is a little more than halfway into chapter 2. The chapters are quite long in this, but I don't know. It's, again, not a bad book. It's just not really grabbing me. I will, of course, finish this because I'm at least intrigued by the concept and the general plot. You know, it's about a group of women who all specialize in different fields who get sent on this kind of mission to explore this place that is similar to our world and yet different enough to be kind of exotic and dangerous and terrifying. However, the writing style is just really not jiving with me. It's written in kind of a first-person retrospective, and I just, generally speaking, don't really like the narrator at all. I find her kind of flat. I find her just very, I mean, maybe that's the point. Maybe I'm not supposed to like her, but she doesn't feel like a real person to me, and so I'm just having a hard time getting into this. I will say that Jeff Vandermeer writes suspense very well, because even though I don't like his writing style and I don't like the narrator, I'm still intrigued enough that I'm going to keep reading, but unfortunately, this is another one that just kind of let me down over the weekend. Reading plans for this weekend include finishing up The World as It Is and Annihilation, but I also wanted to mention a book that I'm hoping to pick up this weekend as well, and that is Reservoir 13 by John McGregor. I think this has been out for about a year now. I believe it was first published in the UK, and now it is out under Catapult here in the US, but this, I have heard so many good things about. This was longlisted for the Man Booker last year, I believe, and it's basically, from what I understand, the story of this kind of small English village and what happens when they have to deal with a tragedy. A young girl, I believe, disappears, and it's just kind of a look at that mystery and that kind of nightmare through the eyes of a small town. Although I have heard a lot of good things about this, I have never read anything by John McGregor before, so I'm very intrigued to get into this, and I decided to pick this up now because last month Catapult got in touch with me and asked if I wanted to review the sequel, The Reservoir Tapes. This is set sometime after the events of Reservoir 13, and I think it's just kind of an extended look at how the events of Reservoir 13 have ended up shaping the community. Basically, I've just heard so many good things about Reservoir 13 that I kind of jumped on this and then realized I should probably read this first. And then as long as we're talking about Catapult, I have one other book here that, while I don't plan on picking it up right away, they were kind enough to send me as well, and that is Ultraviolet, a novel by Suzanne Matson. Now, this sounds really interesting. It sounds a little different for me. It's kind of a family saga that specifically focuses on the relationships between mothers and daughters. What really intrigued me is that this starts off in 1930s India, moves to the American Midwest, and then goes to Oregon. So we're kind of jumping settings with each generation of women in this one family. If I'm honest, I haven't read that many family sagas. I think the last one I read was Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Tien, which I absolutely loved. So I'm hoping to give this a go and just see what I think. I've never read anything by Suzanne Matson before either, so it'll just kind of be a new experience for me, and thank you again to Catapult for sending this my way. Also, can we just briefly talk about this cover? I mean, I've kind of decided that Catapult does beautiful covers in general, but this one is just very striking. You've got this nice foiling on the text, and then for those of you who like textured covers, it's like that buttery texture, which is one of my personal favorites. And that is what I wanted to share with you guys today. Those are the books that I sort of read during the BookTubeAthon, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan to pick up in the immediate future. If you guys have read Reservoir 13 or anything by John McGregor, I would love to hear your thoughts down in a comment below. And actually, if you read anything by Suzanne Matson or this book, I would also like to know what you thought about it. So yeah, let me know, share your thoughts. And you know what, I think I'm gonna leave it at that because I have been recording for just 15 minutes and that never happened, so I'm gonna try and leave it there. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye! I feel like a little kid in braids, but it's really just too freaking hot to have your hair down.